What species will I might see?
Today, our adventure and explorations take us to Fort Sumter. In order to see the site of the first Civil War battle and learn more about this man-made island, we had to board the Spirit of the Lowcountry. It was the perfect day for a boat ride.
Alright, I got all 4 checked in.
Thank you.
How you guys doing?
Charleston Harbor and the lower portion of the Cooper River are brackish. There are more than 150 pods of dolphins in the Charleston Harbor, and it didn't take us long to spot a few.
It's an emergency. Wow.
Look at the dolphins.
Dolphins, look.
Oh my gosh.
I seen those and I was like, guys, that's like the shark.
There it is. Yeah,
Oh.
there they are. Pretty dolphins. And we're in the Cooper River right now.
Yeah. We're in the river.
I didn't know they swam up even a little bit. Are you fishing, little buddy? You'd be a good noodler. Whee! 1001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Ladies and gentlemen,
8,
welcome
9,
aboard the
10,
Spirit of the
11,
Lowcountry.
12,
Please remain
13,
seated while we get underway.
15, 16,
During our tour,
17,
we'll be
18,
docking at
19,
Fort Sumter,
20,
and again back here
21,
when we return.
22,
For your own safety,
24,
please remain
25,
seated or
26,
maintain a firm
27,
handhold when we are
28,
approaching or
29,
tying up to any
30,
dock.
31,
While
32,
underway, please
33,
feel free to move
34,
about, but
35.
always
Oh,
keep a
35
firm
seconds.
handhold,
Good dive,
particularly when
buddy.
using the stairways. Keep your arms and hands inside the boat at all times. And for
Yeah,
your
ready
own
for
safety,
adventure?
please be careful.
See
In
that
case
big
of
arrow?
it together under your chin. In any emergency, always follow the instructions of the crew. Accessible restrooms. For your convenience, there's a snack bar located forward on the second floor.
Here in Charleston 2023 so far.
That carnival
Thank you all
cruise.
for making Fort Sumter part of your trip here in Charleston.
We have quite a few Atlantic boundary dolphins that live in our harbor year round, and it's a beautiful day, so we make
Awesome sugar cane. And what's the pirate's favorite drink, everybody?
Rum.
Rum. Very good. Awesome. Do you either know your history or you know your drink history? So they are making a lot of money down there, but hey, look, I'm
We've
from
been a pirate
Florida.
for Halloween.
I know how fast it is. The big bridge, the Ravenel Bridge out there, that's about 4 miles. So the idea is you have your external battery,
And it has
Wagner battery, Marshall battery D.
What's
They're
this?
keeping an eye out on the Atlantic Ocean.
Tastes like
If
Mountain Dew.
somebody starts making an approach towards the city,
so now we are close enough. We can see the flagpole, and of course we're going to be raising the flag, which again is a participatory. And we see the red stripe about a third of the way up on the flagpole. That indicates the original height of the walls of Fort Sumter.
This is cool. A cannon can travel 3 miles.
At the time of the Revolution, slavery existed in the North and the South. New York, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut had significant numbers of slaves. But since the geography of the northern colonies did not lend itself to large-scale agriculture, states in the North began to slowly phase out slavery. It was not unusual for more money to be invested on slaves than in land itself. In the 1770s, 9 of the 10 richest men in the colonies were South Carolinians. By 1708, Africans made up the majority of South Carolina's population. The Stone Rebellion near Charleston in 1739 and the successful 1791 slave rebellion on Saint-Domingue, Haiti, escalated fears among mainland white slaveholders. The nation quickly learned that the Bill of Rights and the system of checks and balances between the branches of government did not guarantee individual liberties if one political party gained control of all 3 branches of government. The 1798 and 1799 Virginia and Kentucky resolutions, written by James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, were manifestos of a state's right to judge the constitutionality of federal actions. The Constitution itself did not address a state's right to leave the Union. After the War of 1812, the United States experienced an era of substantial growth and development, but conflicts escalated as the country expanded. 11 new states from Maine to Oregon soon joined the Union, growing the population from 9 million to 32 million. As the nation grew, so did the sense of being an American. At the same time, though, regional differences in economic systems and visions of our nation's future met and clashed over the expansion of slavery into new Western territories. The words disunion and civil war were part of the escalating rhetoric as Congress fought for balance between free and slave states.
I didn't know we used to be part of Arkansas Territory.
In 1820, Maine was admitted as a free state and Missouri was added as a slave state as part of the Missouri Compromise. All this did was fester the issue and kick the problem down the road. Southerners' fears of becoming an isolated slave-holding minority within a growing industrialized nation resulted in the Compromise of 1850. New legislation abandoned the Missouri Compromise and made the territories of Utah and New Mexico open to a local vote on slavery. California was admitted as a free state. Trying to keep both sides happy, Congress was once again able to expand the nation while dancing around the issue. Looking back now, we know this again just ballooned the problem. In 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act allowed new Western states to decide the issue of slavery based on popular vote. The results proved to be violent and disastrous as pro- and anti-slavery factions crossed from other states to sway elections in Kansas. A 5-year guerrilla war known as Bleeding Kansas was a preview of the Civil War. Northern Whigs, Free Soilers, and Democrats who opposed slavery joined forces to form the Republican Party. With anti-slavery in its stance, the party came up with a broad enough program to attract supporters who were indifferent on the issue of slavery. Then came the Dred Scott decision of 1857. Dred Scott was a slave who sued for his freedom in 1846 because he had lived in Illinois and Wisconsin Territory, both closed to slavery. The case rose to the Supreme Court, and 11 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that not only was Scott not free, but that the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional because it infringed on Southern's rights to take property or slaves anywhere in the nation.
Years after that picture, then all of that became open to slavery. But only for 8 years, I guess.
In 1860, the South grew an astonishing 2.28 billion pounds of cotton, $191 million worth, which was 57% of our nation's total exports. Cotton bales typically weigh 500 pounds. In 1860, prices averaged 10 cents a pound. The Civil War caused this once plentiful crop to become scarce, and cotton prices soared to $1.90 per pound by 1863. This bale was found in 1935 on an old farm west of Charleston. If taken to the market in 1863, it could have sold for nearly $1,000. Adjusting for inflation, today's price would be nearly $25,000. Charleston declined in commercial importance as the Cotton Kingdom moved west. Charleston was the 4th largest city in America in 1790, but had fallen to 22nd by 1860. Here is a map of the presidential election of 1860. John Bell was the candidate for the Constitutional Union Party. Bell carried 3 states in 1860 and played a vital role in giving the election to the Republicans. In response to the election of Abraham Lincoln on September 20th, 1860, delegates from South Carolina passed and signed an ordinance of secession, taking the state out of the Union. The first shot of the Civil War was right here in Charleston Harbor. It was the result of a half-century of growing sectionalism. Underlying all the rhetoric was the volatile question of slavery. Confederates fired the first shot here in South Carolina. The federal government responded with force. Decades of compromise was over. The very nature of the Union was at stake.
Which way are we supposed to go?
All right, folks, you may have realized that I've never said the word Confederacy until right now. That is because it isn't until February of 1861, a new calendar year, that things start to become more formalized for the states which have seceded. In February of 61, they issued their foundational documents, including their Constitution, and choose Jefferson Davis as their one and only president to lead their attempted nation. Now, the Confederacy, too, is going to send official military command to Charleston Harbor, because there's a little problem where we're standing, right? I call Anderson and his men, they're the booger that they just got to flick off. And so they're sending P.G.T. Beauregard, Pierre Gustave Toutant Beauregard. He's a Creole man coming from Louisiana. Now, you all may have heard of the idea of the Brothers' War before, right? The idea that so many of these guys during the war, they knew one another. Maybe they were blood related to one another. They grew up together. Heck, they were still growing up with one another. The average age of a soldier during this time being under the age of 25 years old. So if you remember, Anderson, he was well respected because of his position as an instructor at West Point way back when Beauregard graduated as top of his class. So of course these two gentlemen knew each other very well. Teacher-student, mentor-mentee, perhaps they even had almost a father-son-like relationship, and now they face each other as adversaries here in Charleston Harbor. How do you think that felt? Any of the conflicts that the United States has entered in the more modern era, it's always been other, right? Our idea of the foreign enemy being something different or somebody we can't relate to. But during the Civil War, families were literally torn apart during this 4-year period. Now, Beauregard is going about this in a very gentlemanly way. Okay, he's approaching it very carefully. He asks Anderson, you can just leave. You're within the Republic of South Carolina's territory, and why don't you just scooch on out of there and go back to New York or Vermont or wherever you came from. And Anderson says, yeah, not on my watch. This is coming from the Commander-in-Chief. I have been sent here to Charleston Harbor to guard this city against our enemy, which at this point is you. Beauregard gets tired of playing, and he gets tired of playing nice. And on April 12, 1861, the first shot of the Civil War is ordered. 4:30 in the morning. It's coming from about 2 miles away over on James Island at Fort Johnson. Now that first shot of the Civil War, it wasn't a shot of attack. It was a signal shot. It's coming from a mortar. That's a real short, squatty little cannon. We have one down on the parade ground. It's essentially a timed bomb. And it took 22 seconds for that shot to exit the mouth of the mortar and to travel over Charleston Harbor. And man, the world must have stopped, right? And all the people who had been rallying for secession for months at this point, maybe they looked up and they thought, well, here it comes, right in my own backyard. 80% of Charleston's population were not even considered citizens of the United States. The enslaved Gullah Geechee men and women on the surrounding plantations, I like to think that they too looked up at the sky and saw that change was finally coming for this country. After 22 seconds, it exploded like a firework over Charleston Harbor. The signal shot. Bam, it's game time. 36 hours of bombardment could begin. All of those gun positions that I've described to you by now are occupied by the Confederacy, and they begin their assault on Fort Sumter. And I know it's hard to believe, but in those 36 hours, not a single soul was lost on either side. Anderson and Beauregard are in constant communication with one another. Beauregard, time and time again, offering him a way out. But Anderson is being careful. The last thing that he wants to do is to raise a white flag of surrender over this fort. Bad PR move. He does not want to recognize the Confederacy as a legitimate threat, as a legitimate foreign power. But man, is he struggling. On day 3 of bombardment, a fire started in the fort, and as if that's not bad enough, the fire started in the gunpowder room. So Anderson, he is trying to look for some ways out, and Beauregard offers him a nice middle ground. You're not surrendering the fort, you're evacuating. Conditions are unsafe. Your men are growing cold, hungry, and tired. They need to return home to their families. He offers that if they lower the United States flag over the fort, the Confederacy would lower their gun positions and the men could leave peacefully. And ultimately, Anderson accepts. He's doing this on his own accord. He's not waiting for somebody to give him the A-OK. How do you think he's feeling right now? How is he going to be received when he goes back to Washington after this? This is it. There'd been a couple skirmishes down in other parts of the country at this point, but this was the big one. We're not turning back now. As they're lowering the 33-star United States flag over the fort, the troops, they offer a 50-shot gun salute. This is a sign of respect to our country. And as they are offering this salute, there's a misfire. And the first 2 deaths of the American Civil War occur almost completely by accident. Daniel Howe, U.S. soldier, being the very first casualty. As the battle transfers from Charleston Harbor across the United States, over 700,000 individuals would give their lives as our country faced some very difficult questions. What kind of country does this want to be going forward? Will we remain united and strengthened because of our differences, or fall because of them? The United States formally recognizes the end of the Civil War as April 9th, 1865. This is when Lee famously surrenders at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. Anderson, he's choosing to return here to Charleston Harbor after he leads the Department of the Kentucky and the Department of Cumberland. He comes back here carrying something very special. The very same flag that he lowered 4 years to the day prior. He returns here April 14th, 1865 to once again re-raise the U.S. flag. He invites veterans from both sides of the conflict. This is an important moment of healing and reunification for our country. Anybody who's anybody is here. Politicians, newspaper journalists. It's this beautiful ceremony that none of you guys have ever heard of before. Because April 14th, 1865 is a very difficult day in U.S. history, the day Abraham Lincoln attended a showing at Ford's Theater. And so with the national tragedy of the assassination of the United States president, this moment of healing is overshadowed. What I see as a sick foreshadowing of the years to come, the rocky road of reconstruction for our country. Today and every day, at both Fort Moultrie and Fort Sumter, we're proud to raise the United States colors. This flag is internationally recognized as a symbol of freedom. It represents the so very difficult moments of history we so desperately need to learn, but it also represents the countless moments that each and every American can be proud of. And above all, it represents those who gave some or all in defense of the United States and her values. With that, I'll need about 20 volunteers to join me down here in front of the flagpole. I'm going to need a line here and a line here.
Please don't be directly behind me. I cannot see.
So a couple of flag facts. We do fly the 33-star here. This is one of the historic flags, and today we're flying the Storm. There's
Everyone over here on my left.
Everybody else?
Yep. So everyone over here on my left. You're going to take this top layer of your flag, and you're going to hand it directly across to the person from you, and then take a step back and lay it flat.
That requires about 50 or so to get it down.
And this is the small one. We have a 20 by 36. If anyone went into the visitor center, you saw it.
You clip it down there. I'll clip the middle one. Yep. And you're going to clip right here. There you go. Alright, and you're going to come down here. Okay, you're going to pull from this one. Alright, Lowell, veteran of the United States Air Force, will proceed with raising of the colors today. Now folks, when you feel the tug, please let go. Lowell, proceed with the raising of the colors.
and it almost fell off.
What?
Look at it at the top. You see the
Adrenaline Rush Adventures? Adrenaline Rush Adventures? It's mostly fishing, but we travel around and see some stuff too. Adrenaline Rush Adventures. Check it out. I got over 100K subscribers.
How do they know what our YouTube channel is?
Yeah. Adrenaline Rush Adventures. Let me see here.
On the ground level,
Where are you guys from?
We from the South Carolina.
Are y'all here on a field trip?
Yes, sir.
Which school?
Allendale.
Nice. I might post a video in a couple weeks of this.
All right.
Let's see, that one right there.
Oh, this too.
Oh.
Can we have permission to record you guys for a little minute?
Sure.
About your experience?
Okay.
Something like that. But y'all vlogging?
Do what?
Y'all vlog? Is y'all like vloggers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep.
That's cool. Hey, we back again with it. You need to stop, bro. What's your name today? Who we got here?
I'm Nate Williams.
Okay. You got YouTube? You want to
Yeah.
shout that out?
It's Adrenaline Rush Adventures. So if you get a chance, check it out. At Adrenaline Rush Adventures. It's mostly a fishing channel, but we might see you guys on there. What school did he say y'all from?
Allendale.
What is it?
Allendale, Fairfax.
Allendale? Fairfax?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But, so basically, we want to know about your reasoning.
Well, just learn about history, and we visit a lot of the national park sites, and we're always trying to learn stuff. And anything else? What do you think? It's family time. Get out. It's a beautiful day.
Nice. So, how was your experience with Fort Sumter?
So far, so good. I've learned more than I knew already, and I'm actually a geography teacher and a history teacher, and I've already learned stuff I didn't know.
Okay. Have you been here before?
Nope, never been here before.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Oh, thank you guys.
Have a good day.
You too. Oh, we left from right here. Tricky. Yeah, we left from here and came around to here. Cool. You stamped your badge too?
Yeah, but guess what?
What?
We might get a new subscriber. Your badge stamp?
Did you need anything or
No.
didn't see nothing? Little gift shop. A close look at the wall in front of you reveals Union artillery shells embedded in the brick. They were fired during one of the longest sieges in U.S. military history. Shelled for 22 months.
You can see this.
That was a rifle one, you said.
A what?
A rifle cannon.
Cannon.
Nice.
I got stuck in the bricks. And then over here, they think there's shell in there. And then also another rifle.
Sheesh.
Why is it so long? I thought they were like not balls.
They're like, no, those are shells. They are solid balls and shells. But that's a rifle. That's a bullet.
Look.
Hi.
Inside the cannon. See what it
I'm
looks like?
staring down the barrel of a gun.
Wow, that's long. You ever seen in the circuses where they shoot people out of this?
Yeah. Just imagine that on the noodling hole. That would be good.
Yeah, big.
And then like the catfish would like shoot a cannonball at you when you were trying the noodles. What did you like about the national parks?
I liked that it had stuff that I didn't know about. Going to see the view when the dolphins came out and seeing the volcanoes. Well, not volcanoes. I meant canyons. Yeah.
What's your favorite part about being a park ranger?
What I like is the whole history of Fort Sumter, the significance of Fort Sumter being at the start of the Civil War, which basically determined what kind of nation we would become.
What is the coolest animal you saw on the cruise?
On the ferry to the fort?
Yeah.
What's the coolest thing? Well, I think it's just nice to be on the water and see that, and you can kind of get a sense of the whole Charleston Harbor, and then also you get to see dolphins a lot.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Cool clock over there. Boy, it feels so nice and toasty out here.
Feels good for a pool.
Today in Oklahoma, it's supposed to snow. And tomorrow, even more snow in Oklahoma. We're here in
a swim.
our short sleeves. Well, so far, Fort Sumter's been the best thing we've seen on our trip, I think. I mean, the whole trip's been good, but, well, that and the beach. The beach was pretty cool. We're gonna get to go to the beach a little more tomorrow, I think. We'll see, as long as it isn't pouring down rain.
Make sure you check out our next video. We continue exploring South Carolina as we spend some time at the beach and catch a gator. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'd like to give a shout out to the Tigers from Allendale Fairfax Middle School in South Carolina. These guys were awesome. They were super animated and full of energy, but they were very respectful. They held doors open, said yes sir, and they all had smiles on their faces. They must have some awesome parents and teachers. If you would like your school shouted out, leave us a comment and impress me with something that you liked or learned from the video. All right, again, thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.